All right, what is up guys? It is Daelen here with MAPerformance. Today we're gonna kind of do a Clutches 101. This is kind of in our Back to Spool series here for September. Kind of want to just teach you guys some basic stuff that goes around and comes from the questions we hear every day here at MAPerformance, both on our social medias, on the phones, and kind of anywhere else you can get a hold of us. What we have in front of us is kind of a small but impactful group of clutches. We have kind of something from each grouping that we would sell here, and that most of our customers would fall into one of these kind of 4 categories and what they would use. So we've got 4 categories here. We're going to go through each one and kind of go through what the benefits might be and what the downsides might be to using that different clutch. And then we'll kind of end that with helping you choose which one's going to be best for the build you're doing. And as always, if we don't answer every question you have, you're welcome to call in and talk to our staff here. Welcome to email us, smoke signal, carrier pigeon, kind of whatever way you want to get a hold of us, we're going to make ourselves available. So we're going to start here on my right, your left. We're going to start with the XClutch. This is going to be kind of their stage 1, stage 2 package. So it's going to be a full face disc. Full face means that you can see the entire disc is one face. We'll move on to talk about the pucks next, but that's where it gets its name from it. So when you hear someone say a full face disc, usually a stage 1, stage 2 clutch for most manufacturers, this is what they're referencing. This is going to be what you see in most all OEM applications. You're gonna see a single disc, you're gonna see a sprung disc, you're gonna see full face. The materials can be anywhere from a fiberglass inlaid organic material, which is going to be either like rubber. Sometimes you're going to see like metal powders bound into that actual disc. That's going to be kind of our most basic entry-level clutch for most applications. What you're going to then jump into is say and every manufacturer is going to have different terminology, but say a stage 3 through 5 is usually going to land you in a kind of heavy-duty pressure plate with a pucked disc clutch. This one we have from ACT here is going to be their 6-puck Sprung with their heavy-duty pressure plate. This is going to be usually a ceramic disc, so you're going to get a little bit more heat resistance out of that clutch. It's going to be a little more apt to holding a higher torque level, and this is going to be kind of that good in-between clutch, so you still daily drive your car, but you've upped that boost, you've upped the power a little bit, and you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit more aggressive than that full-face disc. From there, we're going to take a step into a multi-plate disc clutch. So what we have here is we have Exedy's Twin. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this later in the video, but this one's going to be focused around, let's say, all of these are Evo 10 clutches. So this is going to be that 600-700 horsepower customer that's going to want to hold a lot more torque, a lot more abuse that these single plate clutches just aren't going to be up to these days. So this, you're going to see multiple stack plates. You're going to see they have a single plate version, which is their hyper single. They're gonna have a twin plate, and they do have a triple. All of that's gonna be kind of use case scenario and power based. And then the final one we're gonna have right on the end here is gonna be a Tilton twin. So this is probably gonna be the outlier of this group. We're gonna not use these in most of the street car applications, but we wanted to show you kind of the far outlying options that what you'll see used maybe in some internet builds or what your friends might use, and why they would choose that over one of these. Got a jacket on now, it's official. All right guys, so we've gone over the basics of what each one of these are, and we've kind of touched a little bit on what their strong suits are. Let's go a little bit deeper onto each one of these and the application it's going to be best for. As with everything, there's trade-offs. There is no black and white when it comes to picking a clutch. There's a lot of gray areas where we're gonna recommend something that might work well for you, might not work great for somebody else. So take everything we're talking about with a grain of salt, and like I've said numerous times in this video, if you have more questions or want more examples, feel free to reach out to our staff. That's what we're here for. First, what we've got here is this XClutch full face organic disc clutch. So this is going to be the average stage 1, maybe stage 2, depending on brand clutch. This is going to be your basic bolt-on daily driver car that makes a little bit more power than stock, and you want to drive comfortably. You don't want to chatter, you don't want loud clacking noises as you're kind of taking off from a stoplight. This is going to be the clutch that I would say most of our users are looking at using. The next step we're going to go into is going to still be a full standard size disc, single plate clutch, and this is going to be the ACT. This is going to be their 6-puck Sprung clutch. This is going to be their heavy duty pressure plate, 6-puck ceramic material clutch. This is going to be for this customer that now has bolted on a slightly larger turbo. They're going to want to make a little bit more power, a little bit more torque, but they're still gonna drive the car every day. This one is going to be a little bit heavier pedal feel, a little bit more aggressive on-off switch when you're taking off from traffic. So if you're looking at like a stop sign or stop and go traffic, that might not be the best pick for you because it's gonna be a little bit more aggressive. Would I rather have something that holds the power longer or something that's more comfortable to drive every day, but I might replace sooner? That's where you start to kind of blend that avenue of how do you make this decision here. And each answer is gonna be a little bit more unique. So you have your 6-puck Sprung, you're happy with it, but you're bored with the power and you're looking to take those next steps. Now we're gonna start looking into multi-plate clutches. There's a lot of information out there in multi-plate clutches that's ranging from older information that probably isn't as adequate to describe what we see with modern twin and triples these days. What we have here is one of the Exedy twins. Gone are kind of the days of a loud, violently chattery, horrible to drive twin. Exedy, ACT, XClutch, and a few of the other manufacturers have really invested a lot of time and money into producing twins and triples that are much more drivable. Now, it's not gonna be as easy as a single plate stock style clutch, but we're talking about something that's not as rattly. It's gonna be very decent pedal engagements. We're not talking like feeling like you're stepping on a 2x4 trying to move it. You're gonna look at a clutch that is gonna rattle a little bit more than say a standard single plate. It's going to be a little bit heavier pedal feel and a little bit more aggressive on-off, but something that you could still definitely put into a car. So say you're driving a 600 to 800 horsepower Evo 10, which is pretty common this day and age, and you're street driving the car a lot, you're looking to drive it to work, you want something that'll hold the power and is somewhat decent. Exedy, ACT, and XClutch have great options for you. This is going to be anything above 450, 500 in an Evo. You're gonna look at this being kind of the peak. And that's pretty standard for most vehicles. We just use the Evo as the kind of standard here. It's just something we have the most experience with over the years. Above 500, you're gonna start looking into twins or replacing the single disc more often. Obviously, there are some different options like the Hyper Single and a few others out there that can handle that in-between power a little bit better. Now we've got the really tiny Tilton next to it. So that's gonna be for the all-out race car folks. So you're looking at a very lightweight clutch, usually paired with a very lightweight flywheel. That's going to make it a very, very fast spinning assembly. When you shift, you're not going to have that slow down. The revs are not going to hang at all. You can shift very quickly. You see that almost never on the street car side of stuff, as it's a very harsh clutch. It's a very on-off switch where they don't have the ability to get surface material outward and larger and make it heavier. They stack it taller. So you're going to usually see those in twins and triples, and even quad plate clutches in some assemblies that will handle, upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 horsepower. What's the difference between, say, a dual mass or single mass? That's something you're gonna hear a lot in the Civic world and a couple of the other vehicles that we deal with. So I don't have any flywheels in front of me, but a dual mass flywheel is gonna have springs. It's gonna be a very heavy assembly, and then it's gonna have a disc. That disc is a hard mounted disc without springs on it, and that's the factory clutch. When you are changing out a clutch in those vehicles, you have to be mindful of what clutch you're gonna use and if you're gonna stick with the factory flywheel. Factory flywheel is gonna be heavy, it's gonna be much more comfortable to drive, it's gonna get rid of a lot of noise and vibrations that you might hear otherwise, but it's also going to impact how quickly the car can rev, how quickly you can shift, and all of those other pieces. So if you're looking for a more performance-oriented vehicle, you're going to usually look to shifting to a single mass lightweight flywheel with a standard, usually sprung disc clutch. So one of the topics you are gonna also hear, especially on kind of the single plate style, but now we're starting to see it more and more with the twin and triple plate clutches, are gonna be sprung versus unsprung. So what that's referring to is right here, the center portion of the disc. You can see on this ACT, it's a sprung disc. On this Tilton, it is a solid hub. What that's gonna do is kind of absorb that shock load when that clutch is initially being engaged. So on this, you're gonna feel a little bit more chatter, you're gonna feel some vibrations, and overall it's just gonna be a little bit harsher assembly. And then as you drive the car, it's gonna shock load the transmission much more. Whereas the sprung hub is actually gonna absorb that, and it's gonna be something that, a little bit softer pedal feel, a little bit softer engagement, a longer life on the transmission, but once again, you kind of sacrifice a little bit of that instantaneous feel. It is also another failure point. So a lot of the race car side of it, you're not going to see sprung as much because very harsh engagement can kind of rattle the springs, rattle the rivets, and kind of fall apart over time under very harsh use. So as always, guys, we appreciate you watching. Hopefully this was a good kind of clutch 101 to give you the basic information you need to pick the best clutch for your vehicle and how you use it. If you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us, 1-888-MAPerformance or MAPerformance.com. Should have every option you can really think of for your vehicle.